Okay.
Okay. So today is Thursday, January 29th, 2015, and I'm here with Mr. Israel Gruzin and his wife, Adela Gruzin. And my name is Maura Roth-Gormley, and I'm a graduate of the Oral History of Holocaust Studies class at Goucher College, and I'm with my former professor.
No, he's not a professor, instructor, we can say that.
Instructor.
I'm Jennifer Ruddick-Zunikoff, and I was one of 3 teachers who co-taught the Oral Histories of Holocaust Survivors course from 2004 to 2013. And we are interviewing again Israel Gruzin and eventually Adela. We had interviewed them, 4 of our students had interviewed them in 2009. And all the video wasn't in the best shape, so we're going to re-interview them, and we are very honored. Maura's going to take the lead.
And so today we're going to ask you some questions about your life before the war. So first, I just want to know what your full name was.
My name is Israel Gruzin. I'm born in Lithuania, and they called us in Jewish Slobodka. There was very popular yeshiva there, Slobodka yeshiva, the whole world know about it. And I came from this area, and I'm born in 1928. Really beginning 29, but I made myself older and younger in the concentration camps. Exactly the date I didn't even know myself, but you can figure ended 28, something like that.
Okay. Tell me about Slobodka.
Slobodka was a Jewish place. There's a big city in Lithuania, it's not a small town, but Slobodka was over a bridge, you have to go over and then you come to Slobodka, like you go in here from Towson to Pikesville. Let's say downtown is the city, Baltimore, and we are living in Pikesville. That's the difference. I was in the Pikesville area, Slobodka, and this was really a Jewish community. Most of them, like in here in Baltimore, people always like to stick together. No, not because we are smarter or dumber or whatever it is, but the schools, and most of them are religious people who believe in God, and that's why they have ever, in here in our neighborhood, maybe 10 synagogues in the corner. And that's it, I have it like this. And what's a wonderful thing. I respect this. I'm not so religious, I'm not Epicurean either. I belong to Bet Tefillah with my wife, the family. We see the mother and soul. We have a wonderful chazan, we have a wonderful rabbi, and I'm happy with them. But I did work for a lot of, I was saved, God gave me the schiyah to have a chance to build a lot of synagogues. I got involved, I built the Israel, I built Chizik Amunah, Bet Tefillah, Sarah Zayin, and I can keep on going the whole day. A lot of schools, so we're going to do a new school, what we're going to open up. Not big schools, sometimes small schools, but I'm involved in big schools too.
So what
we build the Iranian school right now.
Oh.
The Bima, the Onkoides, it's a wonderful feeling.
What were the synagogues like in Slobodka where you grew up?
Not like this in here, because in the United States more, of course, richer. The source was Stiblach, they call it, you know?
Stiblach?
Yeah, Stiblach. There was a house, where there was a shul, but some of them, where I used to go with my father, I used to go to Kovnet, to the city, main city. There was a place we called the Chorsul. There was a big, beautiful building, tall with a choir on the upstairs. With all the cantors from all over the world used to come there. And I remember when I was a child, I'll never forget, I had a chazan, I was davening, and I started laughing. The chazan would go up with the tune and down with the tune. When I was making it was quiet, like a flicker, a fly can go by. Then he gave me over the face a little bit. He said, "You can't be quiet. You can't laugh." I was laughing about so. There was this, one thing that I enjoy chazonis. I have a lot of records from chazonis. My father used to really love it. And in here we have a wonderful chazan in Bet Tefillah also. I'm very proud of him too.
Would you go to synagogue with your father every week, or?
I'm not ever, most of the time, yeah. My father and my brother also used to go with him. When we used to go always cross over the bridge. Take me about a half hour to come to school, but he never drove on Shabbos. He was across home, and my mother was a quiet lady. She was, luckily, we were sticking together. But the war came, that's what it's the bad part.
So, but before the war, you would drive to synagogue or
No,
walk?
we never drove, we always walked. We have synagogues around there. My grandfather, Rabbi Solomon, his brother was a rabbi, and Chazan over there. And we had, it was not too far, but this was not enough for my father. He liked a big synagogue with beautiful, very big. He could maybe take around 500-600 people in one time. The choir, and we have a lot of cantors come from all over the world to daven over there. And I grew up this way, but of course the war started. The war started in 1940. In 1940 the Russians came to our country. Then of course the religious was a little bit changed away. I was going to a cheder, and then when the Russians came in, then I got to a school, the regular school was a Jewish school. And then of course the Russians didn't like it too much, the religious thing.
Tell us more about your cheder.
A cheder was, one time I was
What
talking-
is that?
A cheder is, you learn Chumash and Tanakh and Gemara and all this. I was still a child. One time I didn't listen to the rabbi, he grabbed me for the ear and he threw me out. You know, I started bleeding. I ran back, never forget, I ran back home. And I said to the rabbi, "You're not my father, you can't hit me." And I was bleeding. And all of a sudden, when I was growing, I was living a Linkovsgat, there was a Rockelsgat, there was a funeral. I hate to say, and I was going and crying, and people said, "Oh, you give up. Who died in your family?" I will never forget it, it stayed with me. You know, I said, "No, I came to the house, instead my father should be on my side, and my mother, they were against me, because I was talking." This is good memories, but let's remember from home.
You were talking, and so
I was talking in school, you know, I didn't want to listen to the rabbis, but something was playing around. I was always handy. I always can stay still. I was paid and do something. He was talking about something, I was making something. And thank God that's why, because I was handy, I survived the concentration camp.
How old were you when that incident happened at school, where the rabbi grabbed you? About how old
Oh,
were you?
maybe about 9 years old, 8, 9 years old.
Huh.
When the war started out, I was
What's that?
everything.
We all fit on there. Uh-huh.
Okay, it's
I just want to ask Maura, are we sure that it's loud enough to pick up his voice?
Okay,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Alright, ask me any questions because I can go like a machine and keep and this, if you want, this is my life story. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. Most of my friends were Jewish, but when the war started, this was starting the terrible thing.
Did you know any non-Jewish families in your
Yes,
town?
in our street was bars, and non-Jewish people was a few. I know of them, but I was not. One time I had an incident. I have it in a lot of tapes. My father bought a bicycle. My brother was a year older. When he was driving, I was running after. I said, "I want to have a ride. I want to ride." And the two non-Jewish people, the Gentile, he was the same age like we are, maybe a year older. He took the stick and put it in the springs and broke the bicycle. And I was running to catch him with my brother. We did the bicycle on the street. And there was a church not too far away, in a cemetery. We ran into the church. This time I was speaking Lithuanian. When I want to go in, he let in the two boys, these non-Jewish boys. When he put his foot in the store and he said, "Back is here." They said, "Go away from here. You Zid. The Jew, you know." It was not because it was. Maybe I have to say this, I can't accuse it of them. I don't know, there were good people everywhere and bad people. But I was in the camps, I never say good person. But there's good Germans also, were saved. Even the Nazis, some of them were Nazis, they were not so good. But I have experienced, it saved my life a lot of times.
Huh.
If you have any questions, what's happened?
Next time we're going to interview about the war.
Yeah.
So we'll ask you all those questions.
Were things like that common to happen to Jews in your town when you were growing up?
It was growing up because the Jewish people are always in the high from the other people. Because Jewish people, when I work even in the United States at a summer, my father, I remember, used to make whatever he used to make, he gave it to my mother, and she would go to shop and all this. The non-Jewish people, I can't accuse all of them, but I remember is they used to go in a bar, when there's someone, it used to be a habit with checks. This time was not checks. When I remember, was checks, but we never had a credit card or a check. It was everything in cash. Even people used to get paid, they used to get paid in lead, in cash. But the non-Jewish people, they were always envy on the Jew because we have a different style of life. We are not, there's nice people too, they live wonderful, they have beautiful homes, but most of the people like to just spend money for something which is not the right way. They go to a bar, they run around. We have in our religion all the same thing, but not so much like I remember as Tsar was happening. And then sometimes we have a good president, was Methodist. He was good for the Jews, but anything, he was elections all the time there, like it's in the United States every 4 years. And he was running a long time to be president. And when they were waiting for the elections, when he wouldn't come out, I think he would be ready for pogroms this time, in the good times, because they didn't like the envy on the Jew. And thank God, for my time he always was elected, then I didn't have the experience, but when the Russian came in and then the war started.
This was the president of Lithuania at the time?
Yes.
What was his name?
Smetonas.
Spitolis?
Smetona. But I found out from a lady here, he died in the United States because when the Russian came, he was running away from the Russian because they were arrested him. Because it was against communism. Then he came to the United States and I think he was a fire and he died in the United States. That's what I know about him.
So I have a couple other questions about your school. You said it was all religious education?
No, I was in a Hebrew school, this was maybe a mistake.
Oh.
But then I was in a Jewish school. But I learned a little bit Lithuanian and things like this, but not enough. A lot of people in my age were going in like a private school, in a public school. I was most of the time involved in a private school. And the private school, most of them were Jewish. Most of them was involved with Yiddish and a little bit Hebrew, but I forgot, you learn Cheder. And listen college, you down, but you get older, and if you don't practice, you're not so like you used to be. But thank God I know who I am.
What languages did you speak?
I spoke, when I was there, I spoke Lithuanian, I speak Jewish, I speak German, she speaks fluent German, she speaks Russian, she speaks Polish, she's blowing me away. Hebrew, a little, I speak a little Hebrew.
He talks too much.
No, that's me the question, I answer. No, I understand Russian, not so good. Chinese, not so good because you don't use it, But I'm involved, I speak German, okay. I speak Jewish.
When you say Jewish, you mean Yiddish, correct?
Yiddish.
Yiddish.
Actually, we speak with each other mostly Yiddish.
We speak the
Most of the time.
99%.
Unless I get angry, then I speak English.
Is that what you spoke at home with your family?
Only Yiddish.
Only Yiddish.
Only Yiddish.
Okay.
My mother and father we didn't speak other language too.
Okay. And did you play sports at school?
When I was at Sal, I played after the war, of course. I played soccer, it was popular there. But when I was too young really. When the war started, I was around, after 10 years or so, I didn't even have Bar Mitzvah. But I remember I played, I was at Sal, I played jumping around foot, and I like to try skiing, skates. And in Europe when it's snowing outside, you don't have to look for eyes. You can drive everywhere. And I used to skate a lot with my brother too. And it was a nice life. I was growing up, but when the war started, everything changed. My father was born really in Latvia. In Latvia, and when the war started, we just took our awesome wagon, and we started running away from the Germans because we know what's going on in Poland in 1939. Then we ran then the bombs was falling, and that's why I say I have a lot of stories. I was lucky, I'm a survivor. Not only this, maybe it was shared for me. It was meant I should be alive, because so many times I saw them dead for their eyes. And I keep on going, even in Lithuanian, and then after Lithuanian, I went through a lot.
Will you tell us more about your family?
My
I
family,
was just going to say, speak about your brother.
my father was the older from me a year, when he was
What was his
very-
name?
Itzik.
Itzik.
And he was a very nice looking boy, and he was strong like a lion. Really was really strong. When the war started, he was. I can pick up a ton, but in the war, in the concentration camp, he was beaten. And I came up from the subway, beaten with that piece of pipe over the back because he was carrying some bucket of food for the working people. And the Meister, the former German, took the pipe and gave him right over the back. He started bleeding from his mouth. And then the phone that he can go.
Was he your only brother?
The term
Available.
It's
all come out.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
What was the question?
Was he your only brother?
Yeah, we were only one brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were your parents' names?
My father's name was Chaim, and my mother's name was Chien.
Hannah?
Chien.
Do,
Okay.
do you have some memories of what your parents told you about their lives when they were younger? What's
Yeah,
the
my
most
mother
you
was.
know?
My mother was. I hate to say, I named her my Bob son. That's my mother's mother.
Wait, Israel, I feel bad. Sometimes I'm not getting what you're saying because it's really fast.
Okay.
Do you mind being a little slower? I'm the same way. I'm a fast talker, and I feel like I'm missing a lot of
You're
it.
not the first one. A lot of people say. My mother
Because I
was.
want the tape to pick up your
My
story.
mother lost her parents when she was very young, when she was living with her brother. Her brother was living in the main city, in Lithuania, where the president, through the window you can see the president, the area where the president was living, like the White House. He was living upstairs, he had a store, a business, he was a tailoring business. But one time I came to visit him, not one time, a couple of times. When I looked through the window and I saw the president, Smetonas, was walking around. She was not like in here, you know, but I could see this whole, it was not like a schloss, a beautiful building. It was nice. It was a nice, Lithuania was a nice little country, but not all the people are nice.
So this was your uncle you're talking
My
about?
uncle, my mother's brother.
So you tell more about your mom. You said she lost her brother or she lost
She-
her
no. She lost her parents.
parents?
When she was young. My name is Israel because your name was Sora or whatever. And I got a name through my grandmother. But I was blessed to have my grandfather, from my father's side, have my grandfather and grandmother, and they grew up with us
Would
together.
you like to see their picture?
They used to come to us.
After the interview we
They
talked
come
to.
to us, always staying babysitting for us. And I remember one thing, my Zayde, let him rest in peace. I don't know where I got with a fireplace. There was a picture, a little picture like this, and he walked over to me and said, "Come here, Srolikl, come over here. Tell you a story. See this little picture?" He said, "One day," I feel so, he's taken me, you know. One day, he said, "You will look in this picture, you will see the whole world." He had imagination. We didn't even know what a television is. Now, it scared me. He had imagination. He said to me, "When you look in this little picture, you will see everything that's going on in all the world." Then I could understand when I got older, when I found out television, always think about it. And I get always, I don't believe it. This could happen like this. I mean, imagination was good. This time, I was 6, 7 years old. He didn't dream about televisions, but he had imagination to tell me this story.
He could see what was coming.
Right.
And what was it actually that you were looking at? A photograph?
No, it was a little picture, like a photograph. He said, "See, he was babysitting for me. My mother and father went maybe to the theater or something. Something. There was also movies there. It was a modern country. When I was still a child, but he used to come to babysitting. He used to sit at the fireplace with a hoe with a stick and make fire. Above on the side was a little picture. And he told me the story. He stayed with me all my life.
And this was your father's father?
My father's father and my grandmother. Yeah, they were alive when they got killed in the ghetto.
Did they live with you?
No, they were not living with us, but they were living not too far away. And they used to always come to us. There was my father had 2 brothers, and it was 3. One of them came to the United States years ago. And most of the time my mother was very, very nice lady, who she took them up with, she was really catering to them. And my mom was dedicated to us, because we stick together. The other family was also nice to them, but they always was with us. And that's why anytime my father had to go somewhere or something with my mother, they used to jump in right away and then the babysitting. And I remember the story with my Zayde. That's the way I was going. It was a normal life till the war started.
Do you remember anything about your, was it your Bubby, your Zadie's wife, your grandmother? Like a little story like the one you remember about Zadie?
Yeah, my Bobby was very nice. He used to make, my Zadie was a little bit religious, always go to school and all this. But he was making a living, but not a wealthy. My father was a businessman. And we were living comfortable, not millionaires. But my Bobby had a job. She used to go, she had customers, but he used to buy, it's not like in here you go to the store, it was not really so many stores. They used to go to, she had in contact with a bakery, and she was a little kosik, you know, they call it little box, you know, and she used to have her customers to bring in, she used to sell bagels and bulkes and challah and all this. They were ordering from her and she was making money from this. And she used to make tegelach for us, for Pesach.
Tegelach?
I remember
Like
this.
sweet, like
Yeah.
honey
It's
and
honey.
a little, like a little bit like rugelach, but dipped in
It's
nuts
differently,
and
yeah, and it's mostly honey.
Yeah,
and
my
they're
father
boiled in
and
honey.
my mother wanted to pay her for this, you know, because it's her business. She said, I always left over. She couldn't sell it or so whatever it is. We always have something for my mom, something.
What was your favorite that she would make?
The tegelach.
Tegelach.
And so she was both the cook or the baker and the
Well, she
business
She
person?
was some baking herself, or most of the time she was getting from a baker and she was taking to the customers. And she was very popular. She made a nice, she was very, I can think it's not blocks like we have miles in here, but at 3-4 blocks is every own customers.
So she would walk around the town
Yes,
with
yes.
her bag and offer the...
Like an apron?
Then they used to call her up already. There was no telephone.
It was probably ordered.
She was older. She was coming in and bringing us something. She said, Genesef, my grandma's name. I want you to bring, when you ever said bring me a challah, 2 challahs for Sabbath. She said to go to the store. You could buy the store too, but it was customers, it was a good bakery. And
People do it now too.
people do it now too.
You can order cakes privately and halve and
That's what she
anything
was doing.
you
She
want.
was doing. My Zayde was also doing something, but he was most of the time in school, daven. He was a very quiet person, very quiet person. And I remember one thing when the Russian came to our country, I was like we were young in all this, everybody with the pioneer and the communism was propaganda big. Then I put in on the house, you know, all kind of Russian pictures from the Marx, Engels, Lenin, and Stalin. And it was on the wall. When the war started, my Zayde Bestolen knew it. And we were running away from the Lithuanian. And we left them because we were running away from the Germans. Then what happened is my Zayde came and he pulled everything off, because that's what I remember. And in our house where I was living in Slobodke, there were pogroms all over. But in our neighborhood, in our street, was not a pogrom. When we came back from Latvia, this I can tell the stories, it's unbelievable. Then the house was in contact. But when we were running to Latvia, we were lucky, as I say, I was myself. We were going to Letland, to Latvia. There were Dvinsk. We were with the Russian army, the bombers was falling, we were suffering. But when we came to Latvia, you have to cross a bridge. On the bridge, you know,
Hello?
was exploded in our, 2 minutes before we come closer, you would not be alive. It was Bashar, because the Russians were afraid the Germans are attacking them so fast. Then they exploded the bridge. With the tanks, with the Jewish people, we all were on the bridge. It was a long bridge to go over the Dwine. And we were standing there with maybe about around, I would say around 2,000 foot away. You know, the brick was in the air and then we have to go all around. And then we were going deeper in Latvia, and my father spoke the language, this was lucky. And then we came in, we came over there with father there, and then my father speak the language. But going there, all of a sudden, a bunch of partisans came, with bloody like butchers, with knives in the hand. And my father was lucky, he was not a dummy. He made a horse and wagon like we are hillbillies, we are farmers. And he came over to my father, and my father said to him, "Oh, I know you, you know, one of the drunk." He said, "You know?" He said, "I know your father. You know my father? Oh, let's make a l'chaim, let's drink." They opened up a bottle of semagon to drink, and they were bloody. And that's my father, if he saw Jews. There was a lot of Jews in the woods, you know, about 20 kilometers. When they ran away from him, they kissed them and they hugged them. And meanwhile, my father ran back to the wagon. And this was one survivor, was a nest. He would be dead. If my father would speak the language.
So next time, let's tell this again.
Yeah.
We're going to still ask about before the war.
I just want to go back to the story you were telling about your Zaidi and the photos he had up.
Yeah, he took up the photos, communist photos. I don't know.
Was that your family's
It's
political
true.
affiliation?
Yeah, what's happening is, I was going from the Hebrew school to Jewish school. In the Jewish school, they start making propaganda. You know, they're communists, but Jewish communists too.
Right.
You know? And it imposed me, you know, and I liked it. When I put in pictures, I figured that the house was not so high, and I took a step ladder and hang it all around the house. From all the leaders from the Ras and the communists. But my father hated them. You know, but my father didn't like them, but if Matzal to let me do it. And then my Zayda was told me the divorce started. And so the Germans are coming in and the pogrom started with the Jewish people. Then he ran there, took the chance, and he pulled everything away.
So they weren't actually communists. You just liked it because it was in your school. You thought they were good guys.
Yeah. I would tell you, my father said, "Don't do it." My father got arrested. I can tell you this. He bought that chicken when the Russians took him over. They arrested him and said, "Well, he bought a chicken." And he couldn't tell the man was not a Jewish man, but he was making business with him. You know, my father used to buy the raw skin. He was a butcher. He didn't want to give him out. They put him in. They arrested him for 2 hours and let him out. He said, "I don't know. I bought it on the street. He was not allowed to buy a chicken. You have to have a coupon."
What did your dad do for a living?
He was buying raw skins from butchers.
Horse skins?
No, not raw skins from animals,
Raw
from cows,
Raw
and
skins.
like cattle and rabbits, and anything for to get a skin, minks, you know. And they used to take out the meat, and used to buy only the skin. And you used to put salt on this, and packed it in nice and fine on the other wagon, of course, with a horse. We used to take it from Slobodka to Kovna, and there was a company, a big company, they were selling all over the world to make leather. And he was a Jewish company. And this is the first time I saw a telephone. You know, it was a child, and he was very sophisticated more. And my father said to me in the hallway, I was there, I'll never forget, he told her, "It's permission if I can." And he said, "Pick up this." When I picked up, I hear people talking, you know. And I don't know what it is. And then the man, he said, "Can you hang up the phone in Jewish, you know? You have to make another phone call." That's was the first time I know we didn't have a telephone this time. You know, but then later on, we didn't have a telephone in general. But people started getting telephones and radios, of course, we had already.
Yeah. Would you go to?
1940, did the States have phones already in their homes?
I think so.
Yeah. Most people.
Did you have?
Middle class.
Would you go to the movies in your time?
Yeah, we had movies. I see Sarah Chaplin, I see Dickon Dove. You know, this was in Lithuanian. It was a couple. In fact, they built a new movie.
Do you know who Dick and Dove is?
Dick and Dove.
Chaplin.
Laurel and Hardy.
Oh, they call them Dick and Dove?
I have
Dick and Dove.
Dick and Dorf.
Dick
and Dove.
Dick means fat and
Right.
Dorf means dumb.
That is so
I have
funny.
in my den.
So
If
that's
you
what
go
they
down,
call
I have a
them, Dick
picture for
and
them. I want
Dove.
to show it.
Of Dick and Dorf.
Dick and Dove.
But it actually is Laurel and Hardy,
Yeah,
just
no, I have the pictures for
But
them
those
here.
are their names.
names in Lithuania.
Yeah,
I
well,
like the
they,
movie.
they...
Right, they had to
they
make it make sense, right?
When I was there was a lot after the war, in the water, before the
I
war.
have a picture downstairs
Yeah,
from
we'll
that.
say
It's
it.
his favorite.
My favorite picture. When we have pictures, movies for all kinds from Germany, from the United States. It was translated in the Lithuanian language. On the Jewish movies, Hidel mit dem Fiedel.
What is it called?
Hidel mit dem Fiedel. I have the movie.
What does it mean?
It was a Jewish
You
man.
talking about Fiddler on the Roof?
Fiddler on the Roof. is
And-
a-
No.
Yidel is the Jewish.
Yidel,
Molly Pickard was the actress.
Oh, yeah. She
Yeah.
was like the
Movie.
Broadway Jewish star
And,
from
right.
the 30s
At
and
that
40s.
time she was
Right.
married to Fairbanks.
Okay.
That
She
was
was young
famous.
then, right? That was when she was in her 20s or
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I have
And
this-
she was in that movie, and it was called Yidel, a Jew with a fiddle, with an
Yidel,
violin.
Mitten, Fiddle.
Oh, yeah. Mit Bass.
Jewish.
There was a song, yeah. This one week I was going to the movies.
She
it
was dressed as a boy in
weird.
the movies,
Okay.
so that's why they called it Yidel. Otherwise, she wouldn't be Jewish. Probably.
No, there was songs, if I wogen, hey, sitzen Menschen zwei, und singen ein Lied, oder sei.
What does that mean in English?
It is, and a wagon of hay, you know,
A wagon of
of
hay.
hay. He's sitting two people and singing Idel mit dem Fiddle.
I bet you can get the movie.
I have the movie, I have the movie. I really have the movie, it's a beautiful movie, I still have it from the United States. I never.
She was married to Douglas Fairbanks. That was before your time.
Right.
And before mine too.
Right.
But it was a normal life. When I go ask because I go out
Okay.
like a godfather. And
What would you do with your friends for fun?
all my friends we used to go, I used to collect stamps, you know. When I used to have friends, a couple used to come in. Across the street was a very wealthy man. He had a store, like not a hardware store, had a grocery store. And it was my age and my brother's age. We were very close friends. But he used to come Friday, my mother used to bring Slicht to make Sabbath. He also did, but he had always leftovers, you know. Apples, a pear, whatever that he couldn't sell. He did children didn't like that food so much. He used to come to us. And my father used to was good friends. I met his father in Absalom.
To answer your question, what did they play with? What he told me, with buttons. They had a wheel and a stick that made it run. And what else did you play?
No, I was playing with a lot of things. I was making my own tools, little things, you know. Always. I had in the concentration camp, in the ghetto. I was lucky this. I was caught for the Germans. They took me in a school in Rallgymnasium. It was a Jewish school, and I had to make aeroplanes for them. And I was playing around, but the Germans took from everybody. That's what my father and mother told them already dead. But I have stories from this too.
But when you were little, what
When
would
you
tell
were
us
really
about this
little.
Friday night you were telling us about when your
Oh,
friend
yeah.
would come over?
Yeah, the boys used to come, but the two boys used to come, I forgot the names, used to come to our table. My father used to make kiddush. And sometimes my father liked to invite a orach, it's called, a man, a soldier or something, was in the neighborhood. It was a habit to have somebody on the
You
table.
know, Orchim?
Orchim.
Orchim is
Okay.
in waiting.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Wait, welcoming. Hanach, chasat, right? Orchim.
Yeah.
Abraham, welcoming the guests.
Yeah, Orchim the
Yeah.
guest. It was a mitzvah, when it was Yom Tov site or something, people used to go to the army. There were some Jewish soldiers too. My father was a soldier in Lithuania also, but I have pictures from him. Then there used to be invited to us to the table. Well, my father used to make all the kiddush. Every day he was laying film. You know, he was not religious so much, but he kept up the Jewish tradition.
He liked being Jewish.
When he liked to be Jewish, he liked to. That's why we had a gramophone, you know, with the records. When he used to be from alle kantos, from over there, he used to buy it. We lost everything, but we replaced it in here. When he came, we bought something here.
Oh, we have a lot of his
I
records.
still have old records.
Who's right?
His father's records.
Yeah, but he bought it in here. I just a big story when he came over here and all this. I will tell you if you'd like to know. I can go on for weeks. But I used to come and this I remember. My father didn't want to let me to play it. And I
Would you
can
like a
reach
little
it.
more tea?
I can reach with my
I'll
hand.
make it stronger.
Then I used to. He took away the hand over here. A long time you have to turn around and sit around. Then my father used to be away with my mother. I used to go in and put the record on, and with my finger I was playing. Scarlett was playing. Scarlett, that's what I remember, was still a young boy, you know. And my father caught me one time and said, you don't mind, I want to listen to the record. But I said, you patterst me weg. I'm messing up this record, I scratched it.
Oh.
A lot of records you have to replace because I was scratching it. The needle was moving away. This memory is what I have.
Would you sing at all? Did you sing?
Yeah, I used to have a good voice. I used to sing. Yeah.
Do you remember any of those songs?
I remember a lot of songs from the ghetto, and this made me something very sad. And I'm planning to record myself because I don't want to forget scary songs.
You remember the song your mother used to sing to you?
Oh, hallelujah, yeah, that's a little baby.
Will you sing some?
Yeah.
What?
Will you sing your mother's songs to you? Can you sing now?
I will have to relax it, I will. Maybe I will do. But I have said songs from the ghetto. Like a woman lost a child when he was born, when they buried the mother or father. And things they ghetto songs. And then this made me sometimes, I want to bring it out and sometimes I get myself tucked away, but I forgot a lot of the songs. But my mother used to sing me Sloth, Mein Kind, you know, this type of lied.
Yeah, will you sing? 'Cause we don't know that.
I don't know it.
No, I will, well, maybe next time.
What does it mean, Slachman? Can
I
you
should
sing?
sleep, you know, when it's late, hallelujah, baby, you know, they go to sleep.
Like sleep,
Yeah.
schlafen.
It's a traditional
sleep,
Jewish
It's a
song
tradition.
that the mothers used to sing.
Well, I used to sing a Jewish mother, the song, this, I was very,
That's a
Yeah,
Yiddish
famous.
mama.
it's a Yiddish mama.
Everybody knows that name.
But I sing the whole song, I used to sing it in public, but now it's just, when you lost the mother, lost the father, it's a little bit hard. But I still sometimes, it depends the situation I am, when I'm in a good mood or something. I play a mundharmonica also.
When you were a kid, you would
No, I
play?
still have
Oh,
it
now
here.
you have it.
Yeah, I still have it, I learned this a long time ago. I don't play so good because I don't play lately, but I play the mundharmonica.
Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were a kid?
I was growing up and I got a little bit older and I started in the wartime, you know, I always want to be something. I want to be a pilot, you know. Well, that's why I was involved always in making toys and airplanes and all this. And then when I got caught from the Germans in the ghetto, they said, why are you making airplanes? And I couldn't say to them, I want to make a airplane, it would kill me there. But I said, I like to make toys. But then when I came back, they brought me back in the ghetto and the people asked me, where were you? I said, I was making airplanes. They said, oh, this little boy is crazy. Hey, I'm making airplanes. I was talking about a toy, and they were talking about real airplanes. I have things like this, but I was really in a way lucky to survive.
Israel, may I ask you about your extended family? Did your mother or father have a brother or sister nearby?
My
children?
father had two brothers in Lithuania. One brother came in 1914 or something in the United States. That's why I'm here. His older brother is supposed to go to the army. He didn't want to go to the army. Then he went with a cousin or something. They got married and they had a family here. And I had one of the cousins was playing violin for the White House. He was in the military in the wartime. And then I had an uncle. One of two cousins are here now. There were three. One of them died in the ghetto. One of the cousins was in the concentration camp. He went back in Alodina, in home. He was arrested. He was after the war. Everybody was free. He was in a wall. He had to be maybe 10 or 15 years arrested because he thought he was working for the Germans. That was when my mother was very sick in Germany. They knocked him out a kidney and he had a stiff leg. He got TB. When my mother, I didn't know where my mother is, and we found out to the West Coast. She went back home with a lot of problems. I will tell you, we made some papers for you. And my father went to the council, and the council said, for say of Soviets, in Russia they have everything. Let them come to Russia. We know what came to Russia with the arrest us. For somehow we managed to bring over my mother to Germany.
No, she came to Israel.
She came to Israel first.
You tried to, wait, is this about after?
Oh, yeah.
Can we get back to
Yeah, after
to
the war.
before, like with your cousins? Did you have cousins in your neighborhood or in I can never
I
say
was with a
Slovo.
cousin liberated.
No, I'm talking about when you were small, when you were 9.
Oh, no, they were-
Did
You
you
were
play with
together
your
with
cousins or have?
Eddie
No,
and
no,
his
they were not,
father?
we were living not so close to each other.
Oh, okay.
You know, but my Bob and Zaidi was more with us, we were them. When we were here, we used to see each other for a yontif or something. So we grew up together. I have three cousins. One was a twin. One came back from Russia, he was arrested. He's here in Baltimore now. He's an old man. And the other one, the Eddie, was the youngest one. When we were friends a little bit, but far away, we didn't see each other. He was going different places. But we know each other. We met some, I can't remember exactly the occasions, but we used to see each other once in a while.
I want to ask you what qualities or what gifts you feel like you got from your mom and dad.
They were good people.
That's a good question. They were good people, and they teach me to be a human being and not have hating. I never hate. People say, how can you be like this? And I have to just break it up a little bit. I had a sap in here in the beginning. A man helped me, Mr. Finkel. I was selling. When I had a sap, and all of a sudden there was a lumberyard in the back. The whole thing burned down. With my sap, with the tools, with everything, I stopped my business.
You were.
When I was standing like this, a man walked by and said, how can you stay so quiet? Not a tear in your eyes. My answer was, I saw people burning alive. This is not, this can be replaced. Thank God, I did replace. Go ahead.
Are there any other qualities you feel like you gained from your mom and dad?
Oh yeah, of course. I am a decent person. I hate to kill a fly. My brother, the same thing. I was solemn. And even my children, they don't want to kill a fly. My wife also, the same thing. Open up the door, let it fly.
We catch a fly and let her go.
No, because
It's
I
true.
see, the reason what's happened is I have to come back to my stories. When I was in a castle and then I came back to the ghetto again, they have to take us to transport to Germany, the trains. But there was a side note, so there was a hallway. When I was waiting what's going to happen to us. When our old man was in a wheelchair, and I know he's not going to survive because he will take him away. When there was a spider crawling in the hallway. When I was running to step on the spider, and I don't know, it's funny. The man was in a wheelchair, he stretched out the hand, he grabbed me. He pulled me away and I said, why do you want to kill the spider? The spider, I said, you don't see what's going on around, people get killed. This will survive, maybe not me, that's what he said.
Wow.
Stay complete.
Huh.
Do you see something you said? Or
What?
someone? Did you say that or someone said
He
it to
said
you?
it to me.
Your father?
No, not the father, the man in the wheelchair.
A man
Said
in
to
a
me.
wheelchair.
When he was going to be killed, I was sure they killed him right away because the ghetto was liquidated and didn't get a man with the wheelchair. And the ghetto was still, he managed it to be there. But the thing is, this made me always feeling, the man stretched out hand, I don't know how long hand he got. I couldn't reach him, it was a miracle. But we stopped him from stepping on the spider.
You stopped him from
He
saying?
stopped me.
He stopped
He
He
him.
said,
That's what I
why
thought.
you want to step on the spider? You see, everything is burning us, people get killed. But he will survive, leave him alone. You know? He was sure that's not so. We didn't know we will survive either. He put us in the train and then we have to go to Germany. Other than, but talking about the parents, I have a good parents, they didn't guide me bad things, you know, they said I should be a human being, should live and let live. When you should love your friend like after you should love your friend like you love yourself. You know, and respect. And this is very important. I keep it this way. And I'm blessed to be here. Thank God I have a good wife, still 120. And I have nice children. And I do a lot of good
Talks too
things.
much.
Now, I do a lot of good things for Jewish people. You know, I'm blessed to have the talent. I did a lot of synagogues and it made me feel good.
I want to ask you, this might be a strange question, but
Please, yeah, please, I will answer I can.
do you remember any smells from your
Yes,
childhood?
yes. It's funny. I remember when my mother used to cook, you know, sometime at Siemens or at home, you know. This one, when my wife is doing it, he somehow, and I don't always say it because he hits some of the stuff for me. The smell from the food remind me. Like for instance, Jello. Jello used to be, you made it yesterday, before yesterday, you buy a little packet here, you put this, you put in the freezer. But my mother used to make Jello, used to make it in a pat, and that's whatever else also the same. I used to do. You have to take it outside only in winter, because there was snow. Over here in the basement there were little ice place, but my mother used to make, it was too much trouble to put on the ice till it gets glittered, you know, things like this. But I remember things like this. The food was nice. My mother she was a good cook. She was cooking nice.
May I jump in with a follow-up food question?
Sure.
So when I think of food, I think of holidays. And you were saying that your cousins you would only see on Yom Tov Can you
Very
tell us some of
seldom.
the holiday memories of the food?
Most of the time, my father and my mother and my brother and me and my Bob Mitmazein used to come to us.
Mhm.
99%, because we were very close to them. And my mother was a very good person. And she had my Bob Mitmazein like they would be their own mother. She didn't have a mother or a father. Then she treated them like they'd be their own. She was very good to them. And she was the same thing. She was good to my mother.
So tell me about the holidays. Would you have a big Seder for Pesach?
Oh yeah,
Did
my
you have
father
a
used to
sukkah
put
for
a
Sukkot?
kussen. We had a sukkah all the time, made our own. And the next door from us was the from the Slobodka Yeshiva was a kitchen. They used to go from maybe 5 blocks to the kitchen. It was a big house. We were in the back of the house. And they built a new house in the front. Then when there used to be some historia, our house, Mama used to take up the pictures from the wall. Because
it would
the grant was shaking, you know. Then we had always Yontif, you know, my father observed, my mother observed. She never messed with Leon Benson. It was a really Jewish home, but she kept kosher. In here now, yes, you know, the restaurant,
It's a different way of life.
it's a different life, you can, everything changed anyway. It was very strict this time, but I came from a home where we were not poor, or we're not millionaires. We had a nice home, we had nice furniture, we lived comfortable. We were not a big house, we were a long house. There was a kitchen and a dining room, and another room and a bedroom. It was a long thing, like you walk by the windows.
Like a row house?
Like it was not too high, it was a 1 floor, but in the front, it was, we were renting from a pharmacist he had. They had a lot of land in the front. In the front, in 1937 or something, he built a house. He built a 4-story house. On this house, there was a big opening to drive into our house because it blocked it up. And this, when I come to this, I'll tell the stories with the door, with the living in the back. I went through a lot of stores, but I was, in a way, always lucky.
So your father built the bigger house?
No, my father didn't build it. We rented the house, their house.
You rented the house?
They rented the house.
Oh, okay.
Can you sorry to keep getting back to the holidays, but about the Passover Seders.
My
What is your
father,
memory of
my
Elijah's cup
Zaidi, my
and
Zaidi used to
matzah?
come with a bob, and my mother or father put a pillow and the seats and all this the whole time. And even here in Baltimore, when my father was here.
We used to do that here in my house, and his father would always conduct a Seder, and it would last such a long time.
And I said, we want to eat something. And when he got, no, I can't eat, you have to wait till it's finished. He's still,
We used to make a pillow, put it with a white sheet or something, put over the chair, and he would sit there like a king, and he would conduct the Seder here in this house.
my brother was here this time.
Really traditional. Sort of like reminded me of my father.
He kept him
And then we would have guests, pull out the table, make it in like an L shape. All that is finished.
I have
It's
also
over.
tell you an episode for my father. He couldn't start getting older, his feet was hurting and all this. When my mother this time passed away. And he had to go to shul, to synagogue. But there was a synagogue, it was Gaza 7, not so far away, maybe about 2 miles. You have to walk to the shul. But I was trying to make a living. I sometimes drove my car Sabbath, you know, in the beginning. Well, my father, did not forget it. I said, Pap, come in the car, you know, I'll take you there. He gave it in, he started gave. He thought he couldn't walk, he wanted to go to school. I used to go sometime with him there, called Gaza 7 in Baltimore. Then one time we went over to the rabbi and I was not here. I said to the rabbi, I said, I would like to come to Darwin, you know, but I can't walk, it is okay to drive. And the rabbi said to him, Mr. Gruzin, so long you're in Shul, that's all what I want to know. How do you come? Not my business.
As long as you come.
So long as you come. And there was a modern person, that's what I remember was my father.
This is in Baltimore, obviously.
This is in Baltimore.
I just want to check more